What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review a 2011 mixtape by Future. Basically this product is called Streetz Calling and it came out in the late summer of 2011. So the thing about this particular product was this is kind of a transit type year for rap music as far as this pitch can happen, as mixtape music started to blossom into full-blown albums and mixtapes were starting to get charting songs pitched just like that. There were some projects like Meek Mill's Dream Chasers, the blossoming of Rick Ross's Rich Forever. Future was having a pretty heralded 2011 with some of his hit mixtapes like Free Bricks and Dirty Sprite 1 and a bunch of other mixtapes that he dropped in 2011. Some hits with like YC and folks like that just in the particular. So he was getting like a series of hits. He probably, just the bubbling type hits that he built up in 2011, some of the ones off those particular mixtapes, between doing stuff with Gucci Mane and just overall folks like that, he was getting some big buzzing kind of mixtape hits like Same Damn Time, Tony Montana, some of those type ones that wound up being singles for Pluto in early 2012. So it was just kind of the pitch. Future was just having like a banner year for like the mixtape type era. It was pretty much like a juggernaut in that fold between that particular aspect in 2011. It's just kind of the pitch that this was another stock one, just building up that buzz further to get those albums out as far as those pitches going to happen. It's kind of within the context, but this particular album is not as vicious. I'm just going to go ahead and say, compared to what I was thinking, where this is actually kind of like an early preview of like the concept of what was going on with Future's Pluto, where he started to flesh out like the concept of just having more makeshift type sounds, which was kind of where I feel like Dirty Sprite 1 and a little bit of Free Bricks were a little bit more trap oriented, just within the sense of kind of doing more things within the pitch of like songs like Tony Montana and Magic and some of those type ones, and buzz songs and strip club joints like Same Damn Time, some of those type pitches. There's also some songs on here that in particular kind of flesh out like his ability to do pop rap and pitches like that as he started to go to like the aspects of just commercial rap in general, which was something the Future did not do this as much later on in like 2015, 2016. I mean, if he did, it was just kind of more in like a trap type sense, but some of this was originally pop rap. It's the stuff that Pluto was kind of doing. There's some songs on here like Unconditional Love and Running Through a Check, and like some other ones on here like Ball Forever, and like If You Knew What It Took, some of those particular type ones just within the pitch behind it that just have like an aspect as far as saying Future was going for the gold as far as those pitch can happen in terms of like being a mainstream type dude as far as those pitch can happen with it. It's just some good type fare, but this is a classic mixtape here. Just go ahead and say I wound up recommending almost every song on here. Out of the 16 songs on this particular product, I wound up recommending 15, and one of which is Same Damn Time, which is to be found on like Pluto from 2012. But it's just kind of within the pitch that he was just stacking up the biggest songs from those particular mixtapes and then packaging them as singles. But the rest of this product is pretty good. It's not to say that you should only go for this just for Same Damn Time and then ignore the rest. Just kind of concept that a lot of this, Future just had loads of singles from 2011, but some of these just really hold the delivery behind it. So it's just some good type of appeal to be able to get towards that. So I just would look after it. With this particular album in general, like I was saying, on top of the commercial type aspects, there are some turn up type moments on here just within the pitch behind it. This is back when mixtapes were in like their full blown prime as far as those pitches would kind of happen with that. Just good stuff to kind of get for some of those. But in terms of like, I do feel like there's a couple vicious songs, but Future got a lot crazier. I don't know if it was earlier in 2011. It seemed like he was crazier earlier in 2011, but also there were some moments in 2012 from like Astronaut Status. Is just kind of the concept as far as saying that the depiction kind of about it just kind of had the appeal as far as that particular kind of went. So it's just kind of, there are some songs like Power That P and like Easter Pink and some of those type of ones, and like E and some of those type of ones. He does have some turn up on here, but it's just not as wielded within the same aspect as like the normal fury behind it. It's actually surprising that this was trying to aim for more of like a more contemporary and just overall varietized type aspect, but this might as well be like mixtape version of Pluto. Just the concept of like, if you take an album like if you take like a varietized album like Pluto that got to like the 6th single and then had the deluxe package later on, the Pluto 3D, that had a few more singles. It's just kind of the concept that this particular album might as well be the mixtape version, that just with the fact that it's pretty widespread. Most of these songs charted pretty heavily. It was a banner type album for like trap music, just pitches like that, but then also on top of that, just being able to say that it had like the songs that pretty much could be just in traffic going to work. I mean, it's definitely hustler's makeshift, but it can also, I would also think within the aspect of this blue collar type makeshift, if you are just going to like Staples or Home Depot or Walmart, some of those type of places where you work, so it's kind of within the aspect of having some of that type fare, just the push of just like standard makeshift dredge. That's kind of the concept where, from my knowledge, Dirty Sprite 1 from early 2011 didn't really have that fare, and it's the same thing with Free Bricks from just the month before this particular album came out, or 2 months before before this particular project came out. It just was not quite. I mean, both Free Bricks and Dirty Sprite were a little bit more hype and just ferocious, but this one just has a little bit more. It just amalgamated. It really did it, but. So, yeah, so basically, out of the 16 songs in this mixtape, I wound up recommending every song on here, minus the song If You Knew What It Took. But to talk about that one, just the concept about it was this is the only one. I mean, some of the songs I complained about when I reviewed Pluto from back in 2024, and obviously my thoughts on Pluto have probably changed a lot. I probably like the album a lot more than I did like back in. I gave it like an 8.75 or a 9.25 back in February 2024, but it's just within the concept as far as me saying that nowadays I'd probably say that I'd probably give it even higher score. I'd say for the most part. But the only thing that was the next I said about that project back then was just the fact that some of these more watered down type joints were just a little bit more kind of not as affable. I would probably suppose I'd like it more, but this is one of those type ones that's similar to like that Pluto type fashion, where if you knew what it took, it's just a watered down type song within the particular, just a real gummy type one. It's almost kind of hammy in like a more blue collar type sense. It's one that feels like you do have to get to like your tasks and responsibilities just in a more chipper type format that just is not within the normal conduct for Future as far as those pitches kind of happen. So that's the only real hammy one on here. But apart from that, this mixtape is a classic. It's gonna get a 10 out of 10 just within the pitch. Every other song. And the only other thing about it is just the fact that Same Damn Time is to be found on the Pluto album, so you can get that either here or there, but I would probably just purchase like the Pluto album just within the pitch. But the other 14 songs I recommend full blown. So just to talk about some of these, one of the craziest songs on this project, one of the most immediate ones I would go for in terms of like the turn up type sense that you know Future for, with songs like Tony Montana and some of those type ones, and Same Damn Time, some of those type pitches would be Easter Pink. It's like a pounding kind of typical and vanilla kind of mixtape trap blister to kind of get here. It just reminds me of like prime mixtape Pluto as far as those pitches kind of happen. This is like a factory hit from Future as far as those fairs going to happen. Now you would think that this particular album would have had that wielded, sufficiently within that concept. It's not like it doesn't, but it's just kind of the concept that apart from songs like Easter Pink and E, and maybe a little bit of Power of That P, some of those type ones, for the most part, this album is not that full blown kind of ferocious with like the strip club jumps and pitches like that. It kind of just has it in like the depiction of just like where it's there, but it just is varietized with trying some other weapons to kind of try out this time as far as those fairs going to happen. So it's just different. E is another one that's pretty similar to Easter Pink, though, just like I was saying. It's like a routine kind of trap evening prowl. It's going to get here, just wrapped up tasks, I would feel like. Just the concept of some initial venue commotion, just grab a drink, situate, and gab as far as those pitch can happen. So it's just kind of the concept. Not quite as full-bound crazy as Easter Pink, but just kind of within the pitch. It just like, hey, tasks are done. Just the concept of getting done with songs like Running Through a Check and Made Myself a Boss. Some of those type of ones just would have to say just kind of within the concept and Never Be the Same. Some of those type of pitches of just getting like the day dredge and the standard routine and task taken care of, then unwinding like a night venue. Some of those type pitches, good type of appeal for that. I would say Corner is a nice one. Now, this song is not brought to you by Future, but it is by Young Scooter, who's a pretty good cat that was a part of FBG, which was a folk label, or which was a group that Future was putting on. I've reviewed some of those projects, like I reviewed Casino, who's part of FBG, which stands for Free Band Gang. I've reviewed a Young Scooter project, who's a part of FBG, so it's just kind of within the pitch. This is when I feel like Young Scooter kind of came on the scene somewhere in 2011 as far as those pitches can happen. Around that approximate time. So this is a solo song that shows him off. So Future is not on Corner, but is a nice one. It's like a dope Young Scooter kickoff, I'd have to say here. Just a bright, glared kind of streetlights, neighborhood outings, kind of get off this particular song to some local pastime. So it's just kind of the concept, just gas station runs, just picking up swishers, some of that type fair pitches like that, getting like a biscuit, getting like some croissant, something like that, just getting like bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches, something at the gas station tastes real good, some good type snacks and goodies for those pitch kind of happen to standard streetlight type of feel, this autumn glaredness, just October, August type music kind of have within those pitches, just some good snack runs, some of that type fare, good type tune. I'd say Ball Forever is a nice one as well. It's like a pop trap kind of radio grab to kind of get within those pitches. This is like a primer for like the Pluto album. I would definitely feel like a year later as far as those pitches kind of happen. This definitely has some good jabs at Makeshift and Workaday Slag as far as those pitches kind of happen. So it's just kind of the tone. This one is just kind of the concept of just like the malaise about it. Like Future's pretty good at like those malaise type ones, but it's just kind of the concept. Ball Forever is just kind of the concept of just typical kind of Monday and Wednesday type music just within the pitches as far as just like that workaday type fare within it. So it's just kind of the concept, like I was saying, some of that type music of just having to report to Walmart, having to report to Staples, some of those type places that you got to get to just in a more kind of typical type sense of like makeshift type, or mixtape type format. So it's basically a mixtape makeshift, but it works for what it is in particular. Just kind of like a miniature version of the stuff that was on Pluto that this was kind of more for more commercial type fares within. So it's good concept, and it's good angle for futures for us particularly having that particular fare. Another one that's just like that is Never Be the Same. Now this has some similar fashion to like Post Malone. This is like Post Malone. It has the same context as like Post Malone, kind of fatigue. Never Be the Same has the similar fashion like Post Malone's kind of fatigue, kind of Walmart music kind of get here. Just some songs like Better Now and some of those type pitches, some of those type ones, and Goodbyes. Maybe not like Goodbyes in like a night type sense, but definitely like that evening dredge, like a song like Psycho or Better Now, some of those type ones off of Beer Bongs and Bentleys. That this is like some Walmart type music, just a dredgy day, kind of typical Traverse slum as far as those pitch can happen. The thing about this is the fact that Post Malone was doing this Walmart music in like late 2016 and 2018 was just within the pitch that it doesn't feel as full bound that Future kind of did this particular stuff. This is just kind of like an overcast type day, just kind of the dredge about it, just getting some stuff at Walmart, getting like some napkins or pitches like that, getting like some standard snacks just within the makeshift type push about it, just going on grocery store runs, some of that type fare, standard errands to take care of, pitches like that. But just that kind of tugging fatigue and malaise as far as those pitches can happen, just in the aspects. It's just kind of this good dope Walmart music from someone that isn't Post Malone. I didn't think that Future had that particular fare to be. I didn't think that Future would have done a song like that within those particular pitches, just with an aspect. But it's a good type grab to be able to get for some of that type fare, just the aspect. So good Walmart malaise. I feel like Unconditional Love is a nice one as well. It's like a tugging but vanilla kind of pop trap ballad kind of get here. Surprising commercial flair for like some mixtape type stuff. And this has some surprising commercial flair for like mixtapes that I had to say good concept for that. And this is like some early Pluto type fare as far as those pitch kind of happen. It's the same sort of aspect as far as that particular kind of goes. Just the sort of stuff. This is kind of like Turn on the Lights off of Pluto, just without the aspect of being able to say there's just not as much within the aspect of like as much in a night venue, where I feel like Turn on the Lights is just kind of a winding for women type song to kind of play in like a venue pitch like that, just kind of focusing just more romantic type tone within the pitch behind. But this one's a little bit more just Traverse and just kind of more out and about kind of summer day or autumn day kind of fashion just in the pitch behind, just kind of that standard fare of it. It's kind of like a pop trap type ballad as far as those pitch can happen. This is probably one that probably could have had some commercialness about it. This would have been a good song to have had like a music video, something like that. But it's just kind of within the tone for a mixtape type fare. I mean, there's a lot of songs on here, like songs like Ball Forever, Unconditional Love, some of these type of ones, Running Through a Check, Gone to the Moon, Easter Pink. There's just some ones on here that feel like basically like the mixtape version of like the Pluto album, just within the pitch, that have like the same format when you think of songs that were off Pluto, like Go Harder and Same Damn Time and like Magic and Turn on the Lights and Never End, some of those type ones that were singles that just had those particular type aspects as far as those pitches kind of go. It was kind of the concept. This was like the free version of that particular fare. So this has a lot of ones that feel like singles and have the commercial bite and just the aspect of like the gloss of those, but they just didn't chart. So it's just kind of the pitch of just getting that. So some good type tones. Way It Go with Gucci Mane's a nice one as well. This good type feature considering that they did a mixtape together. It's like a contemplative and brooding kind of evening slag to kind of get here. Just a ruffled day, kind of after work shift realigned to kind of have within some of those pitches. Just a good song to smoke to and get some goodies as far as those aspects can happen. Just pick up some Popeyes kind of in like the evening slags and pitches like that. Just kind of the concept of this. Once tasks are done, just kind of in a relatively, just not so much horrid mood, but just kind of the concept of just a ruffled type day, something like that. Maybe like a 6.5, 7 out of 10 in terms of annoyance. Something within that fare. Just need to get some good snacks, break up a swish or some of those type fares. Just kind of the concept of just getting towards it and just being able to get crunk a little bit within those particular type fares, and just the after moments of just the breath of relief as far as the fatigue, kind of just having things being particularly done. It's just kind of some rumination, just kind of brooding type song within the pitch behind it, just within that evening fare of it. Just a good song to let off steam, good type appeals. Name Hold Weight is a nice one as well. It's like a glittery and starry kind of nightlife embrace to kind of get here, just kind of an out on the town, kind of fraternize and marinate in the glitz as far as those pitch kind of happen. Just some good type tones. So this is one for kind of step out just in a more starry type sense, just I'd say within the tone. Not quite as much full bound like a get tore up type song, like something like Easter Pink or E. Some of those type ones are Gone to the Moon, but just kind of the aspect of this stepping out a bit, just appreciating like the kind of socializing and just kind of out on the town kind of like gallivants and pitches like that, whether it's just date evening, some of that type fare, just like the concept of just like some standard kind of activity and like a social type fare. So it's a good type concept for that, just some good kind of starry type embrace for that. Can't Make This Up is a nice one, as well as some good type pitches. It's like a busybody, kind of hands full night commerce kind of get here. Just kind of a thorny work day, I would feel like, and taxing grind of a day I'd have to say in particular. This is a driven type song to have within some of those type times. This is a driven type song kind of have within some of those type times that I'd say in particular. This one in particular, Can't Make This Up, is kind of one that's pretty similar to The Way It Go, just not quite as annoyed and contemplative just within the pitch behind it. I mean, it's kind of within a relative brooding type sense, but just a little bit not as much in like a foul mood, I'd say. It's just kind of more just the stress of like a standard work day as far as those pitches kind of happen, just saying, yep, I've got a lot on my plate. Some of those type pitches just got some shit to take care of, just in the aspect of just getting realigned, just straightening out as far as those pitches kind of happen. You know, when you think good type phrase that Migos helped coin was the phrase straightening as far as those pitches kind of happen. I feel like Made Myself or Can't Make This Up is kind of a straightening type song within the pitch behind it, just getting within the just within a night commerce type aspect, just more past 7 o'clock p.m., just more night owl activity within those pitches. Just get some errands done, some of that type fare. Made Myself a Boss is another nice one within that push as well. It's like some extra time kind of Zaytoven beat type errand. Made Myself a Boss is another nice one within that particular format. Just like some extra time kind of Zaytoven beat type errands and contemplative Bill Payne type music kind of get here. Just a simple but productive type songs. It's just within the pitch. Just that residential type fare. Just more just around the neighborhood. Just within pitches behind it. But just the commerce and just getting shit done as far as that particular fare kind of happens. Just kind of within the standard day. Just routine type stuff. Just within the aspect. I mean, the same neighborhood type stuff that you would listen to on like a standard trap type day, but just within the concept of just having more stuff that just getting things laced, figuring out as to how things are going to happen, and just getting mapped out, just kind of within the tone. Just not so much like a song to get tore up as much, but just kind of one of those songs that you would see like in the movies where they just play the music and then you just it just goes in fast forward and you just get the task done. It's not like it would be like a pop kind of, it's not really like a pop song where it'd be some sort of PG type format of that, but it's just kind of the concept of just hopping to it and just getting like the things getting what you need to get taken care of just within the pitch behind. So it's just kind of straightening out. Yeah, this is kind of more of like a busy type project. This is just kind of one that just, it's not to say full bound, but the variety behind it, just between the pop type moments of more social embraces within like the day shifts and makeshift type songs, and then just kind of like some evening kind of errands just to be able to get done within those contexts behind it. It's just kind of within the tone of just having like the extra type fare, just being able to stack up and just get, you know, just more of like a product of like day type fare within the aspects behind it. So it has some good type tones for that. But Word to My Mother is a nice one here. It's like a ballistic kind of skittery trap venue turn up to kind of get within those pitches. This product probably needed way more of these particular songs. It's a good type pitch, but it's pretty routine for 2011 future. I'd have to say not as normally vicious though, just within the tone behind it. It's just a good stacker just to be able to have within some of these. Goes pretty well with Easter Pink and E. I'd have to say it was just kind of the concept as far as saying that I feel like the turn up factor, I mean, when I say ballistic on here, it's just the beat is pretty frenetic within the pitch, but the craziness factor is probably not as high. I'd probably say it's more of like a 7.5, 7.75 in terms of the full bound craziness. Just the concept behind this particular product was Future was more focused on just having the varietized type stuff to kind of get a more wielded type aspect as far as being a more massive kind of trap artist just within the appeal, and it worked for what it was. Just within the pitch, that the aspect of it was is there was just a shorter supply of like songs like the more typical fashion like Tony Montana and like Easter Pink and some of those type pitches, I'd say. But it is within the aspect of Word of My Mother is a nice one here, just in a more not as ferocious type, just in a more seldom type fashion. Running Through a Check is a nice one as well. Good type pitches for some of these. This is like an amidst the workday dredge kind of get within these tones. Just a mixtape makeshift, I would feel like here. Just reminds me of Pluto definitely, and it has some good radio snap about it. Yeah, Running Through a Check is just kind of amidst the workday. This is probably one that's probably to be played at like 1:30, 2 o'clock p.m. Just kind of in a more sense like that late summer type fare. If you would get something that like Rihanna would do or Kelly Clarkson would do just within some of those type pitches, like a pop type song. Now this is more trap oriented. It's not really like a pop type song, but just within a trap type format for someone who used to make a living doing mixtape type fare. Running Through That Check is not pop type fare, but when you get the aspect of this typically more mixtape type fashion within the sense for a mixtape type fare, this is probably pretty good marketable type radio type fare within the pitch behind it. It's not to say that this isn't like this couldn't be pop, but it's just within the pitch, the aspect of where Future was back in 2010 and 2011. This is some good type pitches, just being able to do some of these type ones that feel like something that you could listen to just on the way to like just stuck in traffic, on the way to like Staples or something like that, or on the way to like, you know, Gap or these places where you would work just within some of those type fares. You know, maybe not Gap, but you know, just within places that you would work where you'd have to report to some Target, some of those type places, you know, places. Well, yeah, I would say Gap, some of those type fairs. like just shopping mall type places where you'd work, just some of that type fare, just in the pitch behind it was some good type fare, just to admit some of that. Just would have to say, this real radio snap about this, just like the Pluto album, some of those type ones, just one of those junts. Some of these mixtape type fares, I feel like these kind of keep the edge factor a little bit better than the ones off of Pluto. I'd have to say, at least from what I remember, I feel like these just have the formats behind it. Now some of these are a little bit more dredgy, not necessarily hammy within a sense, but just kind of the tone that it just kind of has that fatigue of just like, damn, I have to go to work another 3 days in a row this week, after today. But it's just kind of within the pitch as far as saying it's just kind of the concept of just reporting, snapping to responsibilities, and just getting towards more songs like Easter Pink and E and Word to My Mother and some of those type ones that I'd say was some good type tones. So Power That P is a hot ticket of one. This has Rocco on here, which is a pretty good pitch. He wasn't around too terribly much in 2011. It's like a glaring and searing kind of mixtape noise kind of get here. Definitely one of the tape's more fierce type songs kind of have, I would definitely say, is some Liddy routine kind of Friday step out kind of get within some of that type fashion. This is just the Liddy type one kind of in a more bubbling type aspect. Just a classic team up with Future and Rocco's for those pitch kind of having just more standard type fare just in the pitch behind it. It's kind of some Friday type fare, but it's just kind of the concept as far as saying that this has more on the palette this time as far as this pitch kind of have. I just look at it, this is a balanced type product here, but it's just kind of the concept. I do feel like there's some vicious type moments, Same Damn Time, Easter Pink, E, some of those type ones, but it's just kind of within the pitch as far as saying that it just nailed it. This is moreover that it just would seem like the fashion that took more of a toll this time is just the Friday viciousness. When you think of an album that I've reviewed recently by Future, like Dirty Sprite 2, the pitch behind that was a sheer kind of home run classic in terms of just weekend life and just the whole aspect of this constant demon time type living. But this is one that was just kind of taking early jabs to like the sort of stuff that Pluto was kind of doing. 2012's Pluto was kind of doing within those pitches, so it's just kind of within the tone, but it does it and just nails these particular vibes. But Gone to the Power That P is a nice one for like some relative Friday type fare, and then Gone to the Moon is a pretty quality one. Now this is more neighborhood buzz. It's like a hitting kind of neighborhood buzz to kind of get here. Just some basic kind of murky romps and antic. I would feel like about this particular song, just a definite one to smoke one and have some snack runs too as far as those pitch kind of happen. Just more localized, just within the pitch behind it. Just I'd say within the tone, it kind of feels like some of that evening kind of slag of just the pitch of just like being tore up just in the pitch of just like standard kind of saunter just with some standard homies pitches like that, some of that good type stuff. Taco Bell runs some of those type pitches, I'd have to say. It's that usual kind of like ghastly type appeal. And this is the sort of stuff I probably could have used another song like this on this particular product, but for the pitch behind what particular was going on with that sort of stuff, just in how that fair kind of having this some good type ones. So there are some Liddy moments on here within the fashion. This kind of has Monday music, Wednesday music, Friday. The quality thing about this mixtape is it does have Monday music, Wednesday music, and Friday type music, and it's just kind of within the fashion that it just balances these. But that's just the aspect that you'd have to have the aspect of paying attention to within it. So it's good type tones, but that's just within the pitch. So yeah, this mixtape gets a 10 out of 10. This, I think I talked about every song on here as far as those pairs going to happen just within the aspect of it. So the social score I'll probably give like, I would probably say like a 9.25, or yeah, the social score I'd probably either give like a 9.25 out of 10 or a 9.5 out of 10. I think I'll probably give it probably like, I would say a 9.25 out of 10 because I look within the fashion. This is a pretty vicious type album here, but it just is a little bit more solo type fare. It's just more kind of task wrapping up just within the pitch behind it, just getting a little bit more lace, getting your shit together, some of those type fares. It's kind of the tone of disc kind of stacking money up, getting on the hustle, getting towards the concept of disc bulking up and getting your level up as far as those pitch kind of happen just within the tone. Not to say there's a problem with that, but it's just within the pitch as far as supposing that the Future definitely wielded some more aspects on here, but in terms of like I think this project did have some singles about it just within the pitch. Same Damn Time was an excellent type one. There are some crazy type ones within the fashion, but in terms of like the standard frenetic kind of viciousness, this album is just not as vicious as normal for that particular fare, and it has some good concept. I mean, in terms, if you're looking for a mixtape that has like the commercial bite and this is something that's like radio ready within the pitch behind it, but it's just not as social. That's kind of the concept. I mean, there's some social songs in here, but it's just not as full bound. There's just less of them. I feel like if you come to this project for Same Damn Time, then you are looking for other ones. Yeah, it has E and Easter Pink, but apart from that, I feel like Power That P is a good song and just not as normally vicious. And there's some other ones on here like, Gone to the Moon and Running Through a Check within a relative fashion that kind of has some of that type of appeal. But this is a more productive type product as far as like the embrace of makeshift and more kind of either hustlers makeshift, money get type fare, or just blue collar type fare that just make it just less available within the fashion, and just like the standard Friday turn up that just some of these earlier mixtapes kind of had. So it's just within the pitch, not bad, but just within the concept, it just detracts from like the social in terms of like this is many full bound that are wielded here. So it's just kind of the concept. But 9.25 social. So in terms of the future, like Future's working on some stuff. Like he might be working on like a mixtape with Young Thug and Lil Baby, some of those type of folks, or something going on there as far as those pitches gonna happen. Future said recently that he's got another mixtape coming, so some good type concept, and this is as of January 2025, so some good type fares to that. Just would have to say we'll have to see what happens with it. Good type viciousness, but classic mixtape here, 10 out of 10 easily, just in the pitch. Every song on here, damn near I recommend, and this basically is like a early primer, like the mixtape version of the Pluto album from 2012. Nailed these angles pretty sufficiently, had the widespread type songs to just an easy classic. It's an easy classic for like the 2010s mixtape type fare.